G'day everyone, Gary Garden here from Hayman Reefs, and welcome to another video here at our virtual caravan and camping show. Today I've got Linda Hitch with us from Hitch Engineering and Daniel Stahlberg from Victorian Caravan Association. Bit of a chat today on towing to the conditions and knowing what you can and can't do with your car and caravan or car and camper trailer, and a few things to think about in regards to what those driving conditions, what the road conditions might be, and how you might change your driving style for each of those experiences you're going to get out there and enjoy. So to start off with, Daniel, where are we going this week?
Well, in Victoria, we can't go anywhere at the moment, mate, so it's great. We're in lockdown still, but hopefully shortly we'll be out. But yeah, it's an interesting topic, and sort of today we're sort of just going to talk through probably each of the different types of conditions, and there's a lot of different products designed for different things and what they do. I've been, probably for me, in industry, I've been in industry for a long time, but most of my driving's all on road, and I've never done off-road towing in particular. So when we run our caravan shows, we run our van that we've got that we load up. We throw all our gadgets in for the shows. It's all on-road towing, mate. So it's trying to understand those conditions, mate. So I'm keen to hear from yourself and Linda on off-road, but corrugations and just a slight variation, because I know in another topic we talked about brakes and how you should use those in different circumstances too.
Yeah, that's right. So you're in a different scenario to me. I'm lucky enough to live in Queensland, and off-roading for me is a big part of my camper trailer experiencing. So getting up onto things like Fraser Island and going out bush, and in some of these more remote Western Queensland areas, our driving conditions as far as off-roading goes is a bit different to what you guys get to experience. We don't get the snow down there like you guys do. So how are you going to drive on the bitumen or the highway type roads to what you're going to do with your car and caravan on Fraser Island, for example, or driving up into the mountains on the snow, having snow-covered roads it's a different experience, different driver education level compared to what you're gonna experience. Not all of us want to do those things either,
Yeah.
So what do you think, Linda? What's some of the things that we could maybe start to consider when we're looking at the with those different experiences of towing?
Being very important, being aware of the road condition that you're driving on. You can go from highway to unsealed surfaces very quickly, which is an example of that is we tend to just do caravanning to caravan parks. So we'll go from highway on a little bit of gravel road and get into the bay that's been assigned to us. So so that's where we are typically more exposed to it. However, having said that though, we have been on a couple of, gravel type roads. And for me personally, ours is always to slow down because you start feeling a lot of things sort of moving and shaking and things sliding around a bit. So that for me is the telltale sign that you need to slow down. And yeah, we've got some Australia has some wonderful tracks that most caravanners like to go and see, and the terrain can vary from gravel, and you've got corrugations, and I think from what I've seen, a lot of the issues that people have with their caravans stems from not driving to the correct road conditions, be it too fast and not adjusting the pressure on their tyres. Most common issues being a lot of electrical things not working in the caravan anymore, or light fittings or handles have come off, and cabinetry come off, and predominantly that's because of vibration, which means that from a vehicle standpoint, the caravan suspension hasn't had the chance to absorb what the road is doing to it. So what it does then is it transfers that load from the road straight into the caravan body, because you're going too fast. So too fast or the pressure hasn't been correct. So by adjusting all that, what it means is it gives the suspension time to absorb what the road is doing, and then it means only minimal forces are transferring to the caravan body. That I've seen multiple times.
So if I bring up, maybe we could start with, as I've Googled here, on-road towing, and we could sort of start to shift through each of the different types, eh?
Yeah, okay, so here you've got a whole array of road caravans, semi-off-road caravans, and you'll probably come across full off-road. They've all been designed very differently. Yes, they all are caravans and they all look similar, but from a body perspective and a chassis perspective, they will vary. Off-road caravans are higher off the road, so they'll have like independent suspension on that. So it'll give you greater ground clearance. There's more stone protection on them. Some things they're also sealed better. So a lot of the sealing prevents any type of water coming in from just underneath the guardrail, even underneath the vehicle, underneath the caravan. There's more protection as well. So off-road caravans are designed more to go into a certain amount of depth of water. Semi-off-road only a certain amount again. So this I'm saying, do not tow your caravan in conditions where it's not designed for as well. That's another critical one right there.
Yeah. So on-road towing, Gary, and as you said, on the black deck, I think, or something like that was the word.
Yeah, on the black top.
Black top. So what's some of the tips, mate, for when you're driving on the roads?
So some of the things to think about is, we're talking about, Linda's had a quick mention there about going from blacktop to corrugations or dirt roads, but even just on the highways and freeways, road conditions can change. So, grip levels between bitumen and concrete can sometimes change. You could run into a shower of rain while you're driving along. So clearly, you need to be mindful of 100 k's an hour with your car and caravan is safe in ideal driving conditions with ideal vision and road traffic and everything else around you. But if suddenly you do run into a quick downpour of rain, that the friction of the road is going to be different. So you are definitely going to want to slow down with your caravan on the back, because it's not like driving a car by itself anymore. There's so many more things to consider. We're talking additional weights, so we're talking additional stopping distances. So I mean, if you see something go wrong in front of you, you're going to want to make sure that you can, avoid that incident safer with that extra. In some cases, some of us are running around with 3.5 ton of caravan behind us. So what is that going to do to our stopping distance and our reaction time and everything else like that? So even though it's just the same blacktop and highways and freeways, you're still going to be mindful of those, those things to consider.
I suppose, Gary, it's, if you were to draw parallels, if you consider a truck, a heavy vehicle is rated to 4.5 ton. But when you're towing, you're almost, for some cases, you are well above that. So, and hence, this is why I think you need to drive like you would as a heavy vehicle would.
Yeah, definitely change your whole mindset as to how things are going to behave and how quickly you're going to behave. When I quite often use a word, and that is, I'm hyper alert when I'm towing. I'm fairly relaxed and comfortable when I'm driving in my car when it's just me in the car by myself. But when I do have the camper trailer on the back, I've generally got lots of stuff in the back of my tub as well. So I deliberately heighten my senses. I'm no longer looking at just the first 2 or 3 cars in front of me. I'm now looking 200, 300, 400 meters down the road, as well as the vehicles that are in front of me. And I'm probably more alert to when I've got vehicles behind me as well. We as caravanners and campers are quite oftenly accused by truck drivers in particular for not paying enough attention to them. I think we need to be aware that yes, we're at a destination and we're trying to go somewhere, but we're generally on holiday. We're in no great big hurry. Where these larger vehicles, they've got a job to do. We can share the road evenly as long as we're aware of what they're doing around us, they're then aware of what we're doing around them, and we can both use the same stretch of road safely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, correct. And something that, sort of driving on the highways and that, I sort of relate to Gary. And when we drive up to the Wodonga for our border caravan and camping expo, you're driving up the Hume, but you've got a lot of hills. You're going up and down, so you're travelling, and your steering capabilities change with that. But also the wind, mate. That's probably something else to be wary of.
Yeah, winds. Quite often caravanners will say that if it's a really windy day, they won't go anywhere. Some of them are for a couple of different reasons. Some people don't like driving particular ways across the Nullarbor Plain because the headwinds can mean their fuel economy can double or triple the amount of fuel they use if it's a really heavy headwind as they're driving into. But that's a thing to consider. But probably from a driving point of view, crosswinds are probably more of a concern than a headwind or a tailwind, because that is causing the car and the van potentially, a large gust only hits the van and not the car. It tends to want to make it move around a bit more. So your sensors are a bit more alert to what the van's doing independently of what you're doing as a driver from an external force like a crosswind. So a lot of guys will just park up if they know it's a windy day. They'll park up another day or so in a caravan park or a free camp so they can avoid those sort of driving conditions if they don't feel confident, that their ability or their car and caravan's ability is going to handle those conditions, correctly.
Yeah, correct. So I know coming back from Wodonga, it's a much easier drive. You're just going straight down the hill on the way back. But then driving up there, you're using a lot more fuel. So your points are interesting. But what about you steering up and down hills, mate? And try and control those heavy vehicles as well.
Yeah. So there's probably one of the big things that we hear about when towing is I call the sensation porpoising. That is, as you're driving along the road, the natural bumps and humps in the road cause the van to bounce up and down, which means, every down at the front of the van is a down on the back of the car and an up on the front of the car. So you're losing weight off the front wheels. So your steering and your braking is less effective. So those up and down, just general slopes and even, gradients in the road can be enough to, change the way the car behaves. For no other circumstance other than the road condition that you're currently on.
Yeah, correct. So if we shift across, and I've sort of Googled here off-roading, when we search off-road, we got all these wacky cars and everything like that. So as we sort of see a plethora of different images here, do you guys want to start to talk about, corrugated roads, and then, we could sort of get into the, the full off-roading with the campers and that sort of stuff?
Oh, look, I generally say just go slow when you get hitting corrugations. It's not a race. The whole aim is to enjoy the journey, which is why a lot of the major caravan stretches that people like towing on normally have a lot of these little stations that you pull off onto the side and take it in and have a tea or a coffee and just relax a little bit while you continue, because you're right, you do get fatigued because you are engaged as you're driving and your sensors are alert, but I think it's very important to try to really have a feel for how the vehicle is towing, how much movement is there, how much shaking is there, and that will guide you as to how to sort of navigate around those corrugations. I mean, this here is a beautiful one. I mean, you could have within a span of a metre, you could have 3 corrugations quite easily. If you're going over to, like the Kimberleys or something like that.
Yeah, the road conditions can change. The speed you're driving on may have to vary. Again, in 100-metre stretches, you may have to increase or slightly decrease the speeds depending on the corrugations, and even going as far as saying, okay, it might have been good for our parents and grandparents to run around in their HQ Holden with their 30-foot long triaxle Viscount caravan. It might have been okay back in the 70s to do that, but it wasn't necessarily the right car and caravan combination. So I think not only were we talking about driving to your ability and the road conditions, but just considering what you want to do when you're looking at your car or caravan purchase as the overall picture, to make sure it is going to be capable of those off-road stretches if that's what you want to go out there and do.
Yeah. I think it's worth even mentioning a lot of the roads where you do get the corrugations, I mean, depending on where you go and how often they're graded as well. So you might go back the same time next year and you might find that they're worse or they've been graded, and it depends on the usage. So again, it's just being aware of the road you're driving on.
Yep.
Yeah, correct. And I found an interesting picture there that I don't know what the caravan and RV manufacturer think with the camper being like that, which probably led me to a point, you know, you probably need to check with your manufacturer and your dealer and your place of purchase of what you can and can't do with these products as well is probably a critical tip. You know, Gary, we saw some pictures in here of, you know, full on, as I would call it, full on off-road, and you talked in some topics about in the snow and all that sort of stuff. There's even pictures here. But as we sort of get in, you know, and probably particularly those camper products are really designed for that, you know, heavy duty, you know, off-road towing, mate. What are sort of some of the things that we need to do?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, clearly, if you're going to be one of the lucky ones and go up to somewhere like Cape York or across the Tresleki Desert, those sorts of things, or do Big Red and, you know, the Simpson Desert and those sorts of things, well, you're not going to take your great big 24-foot long on-road only caravan in those conditions. So consider the capabilities of that caravan or camper trailer. Tire pressures, yes, we mentioned that before. You know, the type of coupling that you're going to use. You know, is your standard 50mm tow ball coupling going to be suitable for the off-roading that you want to achieve, or do you need to, you know, upgrade to an off-road style coupling to get the most out of the, you know, the car and caravan where the connection takes place as well? Those are the, you need to consider those parts of your journey as well.
Yeah, correct. And we've got some river crossings here. What about river crossings and the like? What are, you know, that scares me a bit, but what's some of the tips that you should be doing with that?
So line it up and go fast and spread as much water as possible. That's not the right way to do it. River crossings are one of those. River crossings are one of those really, I think, let's call them tricky ones, because in a perfect world, you know, we as four-wheel drivers get told we should get out and check the conditions first.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to get halfway across a river crossing and then realising that it becomes a 6-foot deep hole right in the middle. So river crossings should be approached with a fair bit of caution to ensure that the car and caravan are going to get through there safely. That there's not I mean, it's hard to pick if there's an undertow or something there that's going to potentially, you know, destabilise the van as you're going through. But, you know, you really do need to get out and check and make sure that the rivers aren't going to be, you know, too deep or too much undertow.
Yeah.
But in saying that, you might not want to do that up north in crocodile country. If you're in a salt river somewhere, you don't want to have a little old salt water crocodile come up and nip at your heels while you're trying to check for water depths and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, there is so many things to consider, but yeah, I suppose one of them is making sure that, you know, to start out whether your combination you have is going to do what you expect, and then you can address each of those individual occurrences like water, you know, river crossings and stuff. You can assess those, you know, individually as you're traveling around.
Yeah, correct. You know, as you can sort of see as we're sort of clicking through, there's so many things to be considerate of, and you know, if you do the wrong thing, you can damage your product pretty quickly. It's also, you know, then the ingress and all that sort of stuff as well that you need to be considerate of. So, you know,
yeah, and the holiday becomes memorable for all the wrong reasons instead of enjoyment reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the way what I'm getting from you guys is probably need to take your time, suss it out, you know, do what you feel comfortable with, and then, you know, if you want to be adventurous, probably seek some advice and expertise, and, you know, before you sort of do it.
Absolutely. Ask
100%.
questions, speak to the manufacturer, tell them what your plans are. And again, I mean, you know, you might become adventurous later on after your purchase. So it may mean you may need to sell your, you know, your standard, what did you call it, Gary? Black deck?
Blacktop caravan, yep.
Caravan, yeah, to something more adventurous if that's where you're thinking you're going to head. But definitely don't make the mistake of taking your black deck caravan over.
You know, I go back in my day with industry, and you know, we used to call them touring models or on roads, and you know, then you know, off roads, and then these semi off roads and all that. I think the critical thing is to try to get what that means for your product first and foremost, and then sort of trying to understand what you want to do and what you feel comfortable doing. And you know, as I openly admit, I'm not comfortable yet with the off-roading, but I might have to get Gary to show me how to do it, I reckon. And once we can get out of Victoria and Melbourne, we can get up to Queensland. It sounds like fun.
Yeah, come up to Queensland, we'll head across to Fraser Island and do a bit of beach driving and towing. Nothing like it.
That'd be fun.
It is pretty good fun.
Just quietly, but that's that's another topic for another day. But you know, Gary, as a summary, mate, what would some of the key tips in towing, and you know, we probably didn't touch on the braking aspect as well that we sort of alluded to early. So do you want to sort of talk about some of that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. From a braking point of view, we understand your brake controller. So understand what style or what type you have. Realise that every single brake controller in the Australian market has to have what we call a manual override or an emergency override function. So if we're talking about road conditions and changing road experiences with crosswinds and that sorts of stuff there. So understand that the manual override is there so that its key function is if you're going down the highway and the van starts to sway, like just gets a wiggle up from side to side from a crosswind or from a large vehicle overtaking you, it forces the air pressure around the van to change quite dramatically. So the first thing to do is don't jump on the foot brake pedal of your car. Okay, that will in most cases, will only enhance the sway or the condition, and you'll get out of control very, very quickly. So if you do have a van that's just wandering around because you've just been overtaken by a large truck, or that crosswind has just given a bit of a sideways push on the van, understand where the manual override is on your brake controller and apply it. Sometimes it's a press button on the actual control knob, or there might be a little lever underneath your brake controller. Apply that fully. So don't just grab hold of it and try and manually work out how much you need. Just go to full application, that is press the button all the way in or slide the manual override all the way across. What that does is it only applies brakes to the caravan itself. So in a roundabout kind of way, the best explanation is it'll stretch the combination. So that'll take the majority of sway. We'll take all the sway out of that caravan for that instance. But don't use it for one that, if it keeps happening, then there's clearly something else wrong. Don't just think that that's going to be the be-all, end-all solution. There could be other forces. You might have a tyre going flat. You might have had a blowout that you didn't see. There might have been a tow ball coming loose. Some of your towing equipment might be starting to fail. Whatever else might be there. But for those rare occurrences where the van wants to move by itself independently of the car, just slide that manual override across, hold it across until the van starts moving, and then let it go again.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. It's not legally required, but it's a good idea to have the brake controller within reach of the passenger as well. So sometimes, if your van is moving that much, you might not want to take one hand off the steering wheel to apply the manual override. So if you've got a passenger with you, if they know where the brake controller is and where the manual override function is, if you have to yell out to them, brake, and they understand what that means, they can then reach across and apply that manual override so you can still keep good control of the motor vehicle while they control the braking to the caravan. So you've got the best chance of slowing down safely in those, extreme swaying type situations.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's some great points. Awesome. It's just thinking about the different conditions, and as we talked about, that it could change in a matter of minutes. And I know the joyfulness down here in Victoria, we get 4 seasons in one day. So if you're towing up north, you could be going through anything, and those slight little adjustments are key to making sure you get to your destination, so to speak, and then all coming, that could be going there or coming home. So yeah, it's it's an interesting topic, and make sure you tailor the conditions. And it probably links in a lot with other stuff we've talked about as well. And, you know, how you load your caravan and what the weights are as well. They're critical in terms of towing as well. So if you miss those topics, make sure you check those out as well. But anything else, guys, tips about towing to conditions that I just looked at one of those pictures, just sort of those pictures with the rock in the windscreen, don't get too close to a friend and things like that, you know. Something else to consider. It's a reason to slow down. Obviously, also the police, so you don't go too fast. You might need to slow down for those guys as well. What anything else to wrap it up, guys?
I sort of, one thing I've recommended a couple of times with people who are new to caravanning is to take it easy. Do little trips here and there until you get used to it and build your confidence. And as your repertoire increases, get more adventurous if you like then. But definitely do little baby trips here and there just to get your feet wet.
Yeah, I call them shakedown runs, little shakedown trips to see what you enjoy doing. Again, it comes back to it helps you determine what you then also want to take with you as far as, you know, I don't know, your payload is, you know, what parts you're going to take with you as particular adventures take place. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of those getting used to it type trips to make sure then when you do decide to do a big lap around the country, you know how to drive, you know how to tow, you know what you need, you know what you don't, you know that you're legal, and you know that you're safe. You know, I'm big on safety side of things. I don't care what the brand of the product is, or who makes it, or where it comes from, or what its features are, as long as it's, you know, if it makes it a safer experience for you and in turn the people you're sharing the road with, then that to me is the ultimate achievement.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I think what's probably pretty amazing about what we've got with our industry, but our country as well, you know, just looking at some of those pictures, and some of them might not be here, but we've got all of that in this whole country. And that big lap, as you talked about, Gary, is something that everyone dreams of doing and, you know, should be doing. But also the products on offer these days to do all those things as well, and designed to suit each and individual's needs. You know, we've talked before about, you know, what you need to take is different to someone else, and, you know, working out what you want to take. But the variety of products on offer just enhance what we can do now. It's just amazing.
Yeah, there's some really good Australian designed, engineered and manufactured towing products. Because we need them, you know, we're a unique situation as far as towing goes compared to the rest of the world. So a lot of the products we've had to make are because they're, you know, they're needs for the industry here in the Australian market.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think
I love this. We think that we've covered everything, and then probably 5 minutes later we go, oh crap, there's something else we should have talked about. But we'll wrap it up there. So obviously, guys, check out any of our other sessions that we've done. You know, it all ties in together, so not one individual session probably is a standalone. So make sure you check those out. Hopefully we're not too boring. Hopefully we're a little bit of lighthearted entertainment. I really enjoyed Gary opening and Linda opening in another session as well. So just want to thank these two for joining us for the show and checking it out. So thanks again for your time and viewing us.
Thanks, everyone.